Let's compare the difference between an Amish 14-year-old and an American 14-year-old. Most Amish families have an average of 7 kids, and most of the kids are given chores as early as 4 or 5. For the most part, Amish boys will work alongside their fathers doing the outside chores, and then the girls typically stay inside doing housework with mom. This isn't in every family because obviously, if dad doesn't have any boys and only girls, I'm sure they go out and help. What are some chores that kids do? Now, remember, they start these as young as 4 or 5 years old. It isn't unusual to see children washing, hanging, or sorting laundry, working in the garden, preparing food for upcoming meals, making clothes for the family, cutting hay, tending the fields, and all kinds of other work outside on the property. A lot of them work farm stands or markets selling their food or their good. And they assist with family businesses such as barn building, carpentry, roofing, and things like that. Amish children tend to be getting educated from a very early age. It's just part of their life. They're learning different skills, and they only go to school from 1st to 8th grade. And there is a video above about that and why. What happens though when they graduate in 8th grade? Typically, after they graduate, they're just about 14, 15 years old, and they're finished with school. So let's go ahead and compare the life of that Amish child compared to the American child. In America, children, when they are out of 8th grade, they go on to high school, and typically they spend 4 years there. Some kids are bright, they get done in 3 years, but typically their life is going to school all day, and then sometimes kids will play sports. Sometimes kids just like to go watch sports, or they focus more on their social life at that age. And a lot of them spend a lot of time on video games. And that starts at a younger age than 15. But it isn't unusual, especially boys, to see them playing video games. The Amish house does not have any electronics. There's no TV, no radio, no computers, nothing like that, no video games. So how do these boys and girls spend their time? Typically, boys will get a job, a full-time job working 40 hours a week, and a lot of times they will work in their father's business if he happens to be in carpentry, or dad may work with horses, buying and selling horses. There are all kinds of different jobs that the Amish can have, and the teenage boys will typically go and work with their father to learn deeper skills, or they may go with a family or a friend or neighbor and work with their father. Girls will work in the house with their mother, and a lot of the things that they'll do, they'll learn skills like canning, quilting, food preparation, and things like that. The skills that the girls learn, they can use those skills to make money. That's why they have the farmers market and sometimes auctions. They'll make their quilts and sell them at auctions. Some of the girls will go to the local bakery, or the local general stores and work there. Other jobs some of the girls may have is to help a new mother take care of her infant. So she would go over there for part of the day and help do some of the chores around the house for new mothers, or help take care of the baby for her. But she's kind of like a mother's helper, and they get paid for that. Now, what happens to their money? This is an interesting difference as well. American children at the age of 14 and 15 can go get a job. A lot of the places like fast food, bagging at Kroger, things like that, they can do before they're 16. But what happens to their money? There's another difference. Typically, an American child will get to keep their money, or if they're in a household where parents are frugal, they may teach them how to save the money for a car. But typically, they get to keep their money. An Amish teenager, when they get a job, will give their money to their parents. And basically, they will keep giving their paycheck to the parents until they're 21 years old. At that time, they get to keep it. Now, you might say this is crazy. You know, they're out working for 6 years and they don't even get to keep their money. Well, the payback for that is when they do get married, most Amish teenagers will typically get married in the late teens, early 20s, if they decide to stay with the church. And then the parents will turn around and help them get started in life. So they may help fund a business for them to start. They may help them buy a home. They, a lot of times, will allow them to live at their home if they don't buy a home. So the parents, while they did take the money from them as they were working, they do turn around and help them start in their life. I'm sure some Amish parents are frugal and they probably put that money aside and use that to help them get started. I was inspired to make this video for two reasons. One, I am a teacher. I teach online and I teach third grade. And it isn't uncommon when you ask the students, what do you want to be when you grow up? It is not uncommon for these boys to say, I want to be a gamer. And I'm talking easily 80% of them say that. And while that is a job and it can be lucrative, I'm sure, I haven't ever met a gamer, but they're so into their video games and their technology that a lot of times that's where their goals are. And I'm not saying technology is bad, but to sit there and play the games all day long, they're missing out so much on other things and being exposed to other things.